Hello and welcome to Pages Pixels, where we talk about new movies every week. I'm Rohan,
And I'm Kirtana.
and today we're talking about the new MCU movie, Thunderbolts, which is basically about a bunch of supporting characters. I don't want to call them B-list or C-list, supporting characters that are assembled to create a team to
Mhm.
stop. This is where it gets a little bit muddled because there is a lot going on, but it is it's they have to put aside their differences and, well, save the world,
Yeah,
or
like save
at
New
least
York,
New York City.
basically. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's they're the new Avengers.
yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler.
But also apparently, I think Marvel's doing this marketing campaign where Sebastian Stan is going around the city in LA and tearing out the poster that says Thunderbolts and replacing it with one that says New Avengers. So
Yeah, I mean it's not just him
yeah.
and Sebastian Stan. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's straight up billboards,
Mm-hmm.
um, all across the country are being changed
Mm-hmm.
uh, to show the new Avengers, and now you have some of them where it's Stitch breaking through the
Oh,
billboard.
that's cute. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah,
no, but
which I guess if you didn't see it opening weekend, you're screwed because they started doing that
very
like
early. Yeah.
Sunday.
I saw. I was at the. I was at a different movie, and then I saw like the poster on like a life-size cereal box. As
Oh yeah.
the walkthrough experience things that they do, pretty cool. I mean, Marvel's always gone, I think, out of their way to market their stuff.
Yeah, I think it's clever. It reminds me of when they had billboards for Ant-Man, but the billboards were like this big.
Yeah, so smart. I wish I wish that much thought was put into their drafts, but you know,
Yeah.
it's what it is.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess if we want to talk about the movie,
Mhm.
we should probably talk about the comic though, because Thunderbolts is a comic, part of Marvel, and but it's very different than what we see in the movie because
Mhm.
it actually is started by Baron Zemo, who's the villain in Captain America: Civil War.
Mhm.
And effectively, what he does is he gets together a group of supervillains, and he's like, "Hey, we're gonna pretend to be good guys.
Mhm.
Um, but when the time is right, we'll strike."
Mhm.
Uh, but what ends up happening is all the villains that became the Thunderbolts, they're like, "Hey, being a hero is kind of fun. Kind of
Mhm.
like it."
Mhm.
So they stuck with that. Yeah.
That is a
Now, yeah.
no. That is so much more interesting than I guess what we saw.
Yeah, and so in the movie, it's a lot of supporting characters from various different things. Uh, I think it's fair to say the lead, if you had to choose one, is Yelena, who we saw her in Black Widow,
Florence Pugh.
and then Hawkeye. Yeah,
Mhm.
and then you have Ghost, who was introduced in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Mhm.
You have John Walker, who was introduced in Falcon Winter Soldier, and of course Bucky
Sebastian.
the Winter Soldier is also in this. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, Sebastian Stan plays Winter Soldier. John Walker is played by Wyatt Russell. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, he's the Captain America who was Captain America after Steve Rogers, but before Sam Wilson.
Mhm.
And then um, briefly you have Taskmaster.
Mhm.
Uh, she was in the marketing quite a bit. She's in all the posters. She's
Yeah.
not in the movie for that long.
No. I do we even see her face?
You do for like a second.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um.
before she gets shot.
Yeah. And then we also have Selena from Veep who plays herself basically, um, which was
Yeah, or Valentine, or
yeah. Val
Valentine,
Valentina. Okay.
Valentine Dufontaine.
Yes. Um,
Yeah,
with the Cruella de Vil hair, which was
yeah.
interesting.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, essentially, a supervillain is created, or like a superhero is created, and
Yeah.
it turns bad.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
although before, and he's Bob, also known as Sentry, who he was created kind of. The origin of his character was also pretty interesting because it's a character Stanley created and just kind of was like just kind of never used for like 40 years, and
Mm.
then I can't remember the name of the person who gets credit uh, for actually creating this character. but discovered this character, discovered that it was never used, and then brought him out, introduced him in the comic. And the introduction was kind of cool because they played it as in like he's actually been here this whole time. When obviously he wasn't, because that was in the 2000s. Believe either early 2000s or late 90s, something like that. His whole thing is that he's supposed to be like Marvel's answer to Superman. And I'm not familiar with how accurate his character is, so I'm not going to compare it to the comics. I'm going to focus on the movie, but that is kind of the central plot. It is he is the MacGuffin, if you want to say, where they are trying to get him, and Valentine is trying to use him. But the way that they all meet is she tells each and every one of them, hey, there's a secret prison. You got to go take care of a few things, and it ends up being like a mini battle royale type thing.
I thought
that was the original.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, originally that's how the entire movie was going to be.
Oh, just in that one.
Yeah, you would follow. It was going to be a super contained movie, and I'm assuming you would follow Yelena as the lead, where she would, and it wasn't just going to be a couple of them. There was going to be a lot more, and everyone is just kind of expected to kill each other.
Yeah.
And I guess she would have been the one on top. I'm guessing because the report is just that's how it was supposed to be, but doesn't say that Yelena was the lead or not. So we don't know. Yeah.
Fun story, but also kind of sad. This is very similar to something I'd written early on, like years and years ago. Where basically a bunch of assassins are sent to assassinate each other in this one place, and then it turns out that they were all like just gonna kill each other and die. But when I saw the scene, I was a little sad.
There is a movie from I want to say back in 2016 that came out. I know Brie Larson was in it, where that is kind of what it is. It's the entire movie is taking place in a warehouse where it's a bunch of different assassins that are trying to kill each other.
Yeah, I mean this has been a pattern, unfortunately. It's like I'll think it's great and then somebody else makes it. It's fine. But no, I will check out the Brie Larson assassination movie. I was saying that just the movie as a whole wasn't super impressive. It was nothing new. I feel like I'd seen this movie. It was just like an amalgamation of a bunch of scenes that I'd seen in films before this. But I see that the reviews outside have been like pretty good. Like this movie's been received pretty well.
Yeah, and that is generally how I feel about it too. It doesn't feel, there's nothing bad per se about this movie, but it doesn't actually feel like it stands out in any way either. I guess the term we're looking for is generic.
Yeah, it definitely felt very broad strokes, 4-quadrant generic.
Yeah.
And then next you fell asleep. So there's something to say about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Although it did seem like most of the people in our theater were very into it.
Yeah. It was definitely enjoyable, but like in hindsight, I don't know if there was anything that fully stood out to me.
What about the characters? Because I can tell you 2 characters that did stand out to me.
I'm guessing you're gonna say Bob and the big dude with the beard from
Red Guardian.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I can see how they both made an impression. I would say Red Guardian more than Bob for me. I would love to see his movie, but I just think as a whole, it was a fun movie. That's really the most I can say about it. I also stepped out for a minute when I came back. Like not much had changed because I went out during the climax. It was a pretty long drawn sequence.
So the 2 characters that I was referring to are Bob and Red Guardian. Red Guardian is because I actually found the humor with him pretty funny. I think with most everyone else, it does feel like they're making some kind of wisecrack quip. With him, I feel he's not saying funny things, but everything he's saying is delivered in a funny way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
That's what I liked about him. With Bob, I actually think his was my favorite performance in the movie, and that's because with everyone else, it does feel like the direction that they're being given is, hey, you're famous movie star act really cool and
Yeah.
every now and then say this funny line. And
Yeah.
it does feel like all the characters have the same personality.
Very much so. Um, yeah, it was all almost like blended. Um,
Yeah.
there was also that stunt in the beginning that was marketed as this very cool thing that Florence Pugh did, which she did in
Which
real
she
life.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I just think the movie chose to present it in the most boring way possible, where they just cut to a super wide shot and you can't even tell it's her.
yeah, and I was like, because we talked about that specific shot before the film started, and I was waiting for
Mhm.
that to come up, and I was very
Yeah.
underwhelmed. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, they chose to CGI the whole thing, which was interesting. Um,
Yeah. I don't even know what the green screen and stuff, how much of it was, but just I'm going to compare it to Mission Impossible, specifically Ghost Protocol, where it's Tom Cruise on the side of the tallest building in the world. The camera is close to him, like in his face the entire time. It's a long, drawn out sequence. Also, it's I don't I think 10 minutes. No, I don't think it's 10 minutes long, but it's a pretty long sequence. You are with him for a while, and you are
and
feeling every
yeah,
feeling that he is feeling.
right,
You
right,
don't get that with she jumps and then you cut away.
yeah,
Um,
and to such a long shot too. It was like we were like out in the like on the city
yep,
line somewhere. Um,
yeah,
but I mean, it's really cool that she did it. Um,
yeah,
cool to
uh
see,
huh,
cool to know. Hopefully
yeah.
someday we'll see like an uncut version of it.
Maybe, or just put her in a Mission Impossible movie. She can jump off these buildings. Just
Like that's her
I put her in
audition.
a franchise where they'll show,
So, yeah, yeah, yeah.
where they'll actually make the best use of it.
Yeah, I also think that in general, Florence Pugh is very likable, just as anyone on screen, and I think that did a
I
lot.
agree.
Because I remember, I think some of the stuff that I saw online was there was this one specific meme where somebody was like, "Hey, if Florence Pugh like came and hugged me for 2 minutes straight, like my depression would go away too."
Yeah, I saw that also.
So I
Um,
think she did a lot
actually,
for this film.
mhm. Actually, though, by bringing that up, I do want to talk about one of the things that this movie was getting a ton of praise for, which is the representation of um, depression and, in general, mental health on screen. Um, and I wanted to ask you, what were your thoughts about that?
I mean, I'm very glad that they did it. It's always nice to see a mainstream film talk about any sort of mental illness. I thought it was a very interesting way for them to represent it. It was like a lot of it was like heart wrenching, and then there's that one sequence where she has to watch herself like um, kill her sister or like get her sister killed over and over again.
It wasn't her sister.
What was it? Who was it?
Well, her sister is Black Widow Scarlett Johansson, who obviously does not die as a little kid.
Yeah. Wow, I was really lost. Who is the character? What how is
I think it's just a friend.
what I was trying to say was that sequence was very hard hitting, I thought, because very often I think that's what anxiety kind of feels like. Um, where you just like this thing that happened that was out of your control, and you just play it over and over again, wondering if you could have done anything different. And it just like pushes you to be further depressed, and it's a cycle.
Mhm.
And I think I saw that cycle represented pretty well on screen.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't love it.
No?
Yeah. Yeah, and I know a lot of people do, and I agree with you. I think that what they were going for, um, like I appreciate them making the attempt. I appreciate the representation. For whatever reason, I just didn't feel it with any of the characters, and I think that's what it ultimately came down to. I think there was. I wish there was a little bit more with the guilt. Well, I think they tried it, but I think there's also too much. I think it might be because of bathos that Marvel has a tendency to do. Bathos is if you never heard the term, is basically when you're trying to have a serious scene and a serious moment, and then you immediately have a joke to kind of undercut it.
Yeah.
Not a joke that supports it, but a joke that undercuts. And that I think that was one of my issues. And I think one of the things that they brought up but they didn't go into is in terms of violence. Uh, and I think this relates to how when she's older, versus when she's a kid. When she's a kid, she remembers it. It's a memory that haunts her. Uh, but then we see her just shooting and killing a bunch of people, and it doesn't really seem like she cares. It actually seems like she's having fun with it. So there is that flippant nature of when she's older versus when she's looking at her flashbacks that make me kind of that prevents me from not fully buying into it. There's actually a movie that I watched a few years ago, called "You Were Never Really Here," starring Joaquin Phoenix, and that is about a man who is a killer. Like he is like a hitman, not like a formal one, but he kills for a living. And but he hates it. It actually really affects him. He doesn't want to do it, and there's even a moment in that movie where he kills or he shoots a man or stabs a man. I don't remember exactly how it was, but the man does not instantly die, and he is in pain. Joaquin Phoenix, he lies there next to him and holds the man's hand, kind of comforting him until he dies. I'm not saying we should have done that, but I'm saying
that is what
the reason why it didn't work for me is because we're seeing her flashback of how she is guilt-ridden, that she got people killed, that she got people hurt. But then in the modern day, we see her killing people, and she doesn't really seem to care about it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I guess what I'm hearing is that if she was feeling some form of anything like guilt, or I don't know, like maybe she would have been a more empathetic killer. Is that what you're trying to say?
I think so.
No, but I see what you mean. There was definitely like, I feel like there were layers there that could have been explored that perhaps were. But regardless of that, I thought that sequence worked pretty well for me. But outside of that, with Bob's like mental health struggles, I didn't fully buy into that.
Yeah, I just don't think we fully know him as a character.
Exactly, like that's what I was going to say. I think the fix would have been if we just had spent a little more time with him.
Yeah.
I would have been able to just, I guess, be more invested in his story. But
Yeah.
that didn't happen. We spent very little time with him, and despite the actor's incredible performance, it was kind of hard.
Yeah. It's the whole show don't tell, right? Like,
Yeah.
the movie told us he's depressed. They told us he's a meth addict. We didn't see any of that. I mean, not that we need to see him smoking meth in a movie that's meant for families.
No, but I know what you mean. Maybe the exposition could have been a little more organic. I didn't really notice any second screen writing in this film, did you? Because you were saying that they were telling us. Usually that is a sign that a film is trying to be a second screen. You see it. I recently watched a bunch of films where I noticed it. It's interesting that there's definitely a shift. Like I'm seeing a lot more people writing that way specifically.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you're new or you haven't heard it, second screen entertainment is typically when, for something that's in the background where you don't necessarily need to fully pay attention to understand it. So just because there's a lot of exposition does not necessarily mean that it's second screen. Usually it's a character going, "Oh, I need to drink some water," and then they pick up a glass and drink water. Stuff like that.
Where it's super obvious, and you would just technically it's almost like writing an audio drama.
I want to talk about the politics in this movie and also the MCU.
Right.
Because I actually think that in the past few movies, the MCU has been getting more and more political. And when I mean political, I mean like I don't mean that hey they're casting people who are not white, or they have women, or they have women who are not white. What I mean by like it's getting more and more political is there are a lot of scenes that are happening like in Washington. It's in the White House. You're in Congress. You're doing hearings. Bucky is a congressman who was impeached, supposedly. They said he didn't make it a full term, which confuses me. And my issue with it is it really feels like they are so afraid to take a stance and offend anyone. With the exception of, I would say, the Falcon and Winter Soldier Disney Plus show. With the exception of that show, it's politics without actual politics or commentary. Bucky's a senator who they mentioned he's going to run he's running
Mhm.
for Congress, and um, apparently he wins, but then he gets kicked out. But we don't know anything about what he was like as a senator. We don't know why he was kicked out. We don't know what his policies
Mhm.
are like. We also don't even really know how it affects him, because you would think that's a big deal for you
Mhm.
to get elected into public office and then kicked out.
Yeah.
But it really just feels brushed over.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I wonder if they're, I mean, obviously they don't want to ruffle feathers because if they're going to spend
Yeah,
hundreds of millions of dollars on a film, they would want everybody to come in and watch. But I think, unfortunately, what that does is it kind of creates a lot of distance between you and the characters. I think the more
yeah,
specific you write characters to be, the more likely people are to weirdly connect with them. Um, and I just think that the lack of that like specificity is is going to cause more harm, especially like the more they lean into like the politics of all of it. Um, but also, I wonder if it just comes from like I don't think the audience is going to care about this. Um,
maybe. But then why do
why
it?
do
I
it at all,
guess.
right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I definitely see what you mean, and it would be cool to kind of just see like a stance being taken, I think. Um,
yeah.
Other shows have done it and they've done it well.
hmm
Other movies have done it and they've done it well.
Black Panther,
Yeah, very clearly.
one of their biggest financial and critical successes.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I see what you're saying. We'll see what they do. I mean, I doubt that they're going to actually change this up, but it would be cool to see that for sure.
All right, yeah, now it is time for our ratings. And in case you're new, or just as a reminder, the way that we rate things here is on the script coverage scale. There is pass when we don't think the movie is all that good, consider when we think, hey, it's pretty good, and recommend when we think it's really great. As a reminder, this is not an actual recommendation, it's just how we score things here. So, with that said, how would you rate Thunderbolts?
I would say consider. Um, there was a lot I didn't love about it, but also it was a fun film. How about you?
I'm gonna give it a weak consider. I didn't think it was all that like
Good.
great, but
Yeah.
I also don't think I also don't think it was bad. Like at the very least, it's competently made. I just don't think there's anything that stood out to me
Hmm.
as interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is what would you recommend to someone who enjoys films like this?
Yeah, so one of the big things that I got attention for is the third act, which is when we go into Bob slash Sentry's head, examining his psyche.
Mhm.
And there's another superhero property that has been doing that very well, in my opinion, more effectively, which is Doom Patrol. It's on HBO or HBO Max, whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
and I feel like that is literally the like every other episode it does this. It goes into one character's head or multiple characters' heads, or comes up with some kind of weird uh, like dimensional thing that causes them to explore their traumas. It somehow keeps doing that, and it never gets tiring. You always learn more and more about the characters, and it's just super emotional while also throwing ridiculous comedy at you, like sex ghosts having sex in the background.
Huh.
uh, yeah, that is in one of the
Um,
seasons. There's an episode where they have to fight a bunch of sex ghosts.
huh.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
while also examining trauma, and somehow they balance it, and it's awesome.
I have been recommended this show quite a lot, um, and I will give it a shot.
All right.
Did not know about the sex ghost though.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me want to judge slightly the people who recommended it to me. Um, but I want to recommend the TV show The Boys. We did an episode on
Yep.
this. I love the show. I think with a show like The Boys, what really works is the fact that they are not afraid to take a stance, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
Like I know that a lot of the criticism that the show has received is because of how strong of a stance they take, but I think I would rather have that than like a shallow representation of anything political on screen.
Yeah.
I also think that The Boys does a really good job at examining what like power and like actual like superpowers and like just other general power in society can do to people. Um, I feel like Thunderbolts kind of wanted to touch on it, maybe a little bit. They maybe tried, but I don't think they quite got there. So if that is the kind of content you want to watch, I would highly recommend The Boys.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of parallels. I
For sure.
feel like Valentine very much is like Stan Edgar,
Yeah.
or I can't remember the name of Elizabeth Shue's character. Um,
Yeah.
even her creating the new Avengers is kind of like the Seven.
Yeah.
Although the people in the new Avengers aren't
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
They're not.
or they're supposed to be good guys.
Yeah. Well, for
Mhm.
now, maybe the MCU will take a really dark turn. We can never tell. Um, but yeah, no, there's a lot of parallels, and I must say I enjoyed
Yeah,
The Boys a little more.
I agree.
What else have you been watching?
So I've been watching Andor now. This is season 2, and this season they had a scene. I'm not going to say what that scene is, but they had a scene that garnered a lot of controversy, and I heard about that before I even started season 2. And then, so I started watching the episode, and what made me really curious is the people who I expected that if you told me this scene was going to have controversy, of course I would have expected that. But the people who I have seen defending the scene and the show in general is not who I expected, and the people who were criticizing the show is not who I expected. And that's what really made me curious. And of course, when I watched it, I think the show is quite great. I'm not here to talk about whether or not that scene should or should not be in the show. But when it's the show, the reason why I think this show works and why a lot of people are actually defending that moment is because this is the first time that you actually feel what it feels like to live in the Empire. Until now, Star Wars has always been cool. It's Darth Vader. Oh my God, he's so cool. Well,
Yeah.
I agree, he is. I love that scene in Rogue One where he's just mowing people down. And the Death Star, it's cool. It's you blow up an entire planet, like, oh my God. But this is, you see it from the ground level, like, as a citizen, it is terrifying to live here. And then you also see how the Empire is an empire, how they use propaganda to manipulate people, how they use the media, how they how they will like kidnap and execute people who speak out against them. And this is a take on Star Wars that I did not expect us to get with Disney. But I really love that we got it. Because especially now, it is reflecting a lot of what's going on in modern times. So Andor, amazing.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about the show, and I've actually also seen all the conversation around that scene. It's going to be a while before I watch it, but
I will say
enjoying it.
it's not as bad or anywhere near as graphic as I had expected it to be, based off the controversy.
That's good to know. Yeah. I went to the Indian Film Festival of Los Angeles earlier this week. I went to their opening night, and I saw a film called Bad Girl, which I thoroughly enjoyed. It is an indie film that comes out of Chennai, and I thought the director did a fantastic job at capturing some very real moments from just, I guess, like my childhood, which is weird, but no, it was a very well made film, and if it comes out, everybody should check it out. It's called Bad Girl. With that, we come to the end of this week's episode of the Pages to Pixels podcast. I'm Kirtana.
I'm Rowan.
And we will see you again next week with a brand new episode. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.